And of course, if these people would ever study their history, God forbid, they would understand that leaders feed off of each other. And they usually get rid of the ones who they know are the weakest link, or if they're not the weakest link, they get rid of them anyway. On case in point, you see what Castro did, or see what they did during the American Revolution, which is really only 100 years ago. And if you really study the Russian Revolution and the leaders at the top, what happens to the leaders? They become just like the people they disposed. And that's when you really kind of wonder, what's the point? I mean, if anybody had any sense there, it's study the French Revolution. Why? Because that shows you how not to do it. Oh, absolutely. I mean, even Hitler, if you see the type of people he surrounded himself with. So what does he do? He kills himself. Hello? That's not a leader. Leaders don't do that. Oh, back in Roman and Greek days, and of course among the Japanese, it was an honor to snuff yourself out, but at least they died upon their sword. I don't consider taking cyanide tablets or shooting yourself in the head a real brave thing to do. He chickened out at the end. I mean, take a look at all the so-called killers that are let loose or gotten what they wanted after killing all the people in the schools or the movie theaters. Or what do? They kill themselves. How am I supposed to feel like they really achieved anything? It was just permission to kill. And it was the big thing to me is, if you're going to kill all those people, please stay around long enough to show me that there's a reason why you did this in the first place. No, they don't. I had written a blog post about bullying and being bullied as an adult. And I had two people say the same thing. Well, I could have chosen not to read the article. I did, but it was a lot of whining, if you ask me. And that's okay if they want to say that. But at the same time, it sounded like they had never been bullied. So it's okay for them to take the high road. But it's also known that most bullies are cowards. They're crybabies. And they're the first ones to run back to mommy once they've been exposed to who they are. So I wrote a whole blog about it. You may want to read it. I'm not really nice. I tend to be that way when people start attacking me. I attack right back, keep on challenging them and stuff. Because you often wonder, out of all the blog posts I wrote, that they find like these people are just I'm giving people whiny advice. I'm whining about the fact that I've been bullied. Well, they're all degrees of being bullied. Anywhere from sexual abuse all the way up to being physically abused or mentally abused. And go read the article. I always write my blogs tongue-in-cheek. So, anytime. Barry says I have more than enough to share. Okay. And one other thing you may consider before I shut up and go away, you may want to ask some of your students if they do want to get involved in an online radio station. That's good. I mean, and then I'll shut up and go because I have to eat lunch. But the thing of the matter is that when I was in my tender late teens and early 20s, I too laid down in airports to keep planes from taking off to go to Vietnam. And I was picked up by an officer who said, "Does your parents know what you're doing?" And I said, "No, not really." He says, "Besides breaking the law, you could get hurt." And I said, "Oh, really?" And he says, "You really are naive." But he didn't quite put it that way. He says, "You really are a baby, aren't you?" And he says, "I'm going to take you off the base, and my MPs are not going to tell me that you're back here." I said, "I understand." He says, "Let's hope so." And of course, I never went back. And I think he was saving my ass from some pretty bad things. Young people don't understand really the reality of the payment they need to make when they do those actions. Maybe their leaders have thought about it, but then their leaders are calculating because they have their own agendas. And lots of the followers don't understand that the people who are in charge of this mob have their own agendas. And they're just using you or manipulating you to fit their agenda, not what you think is the agenda that you're going out and protesting a war that you feel is immoral. Hey, that's a course we can teach, Tracy. I think we need to try to put a course on that and see if we can sell it. Because I know, take a look at, what's his face? Sanders. He's going after the students. "I get all my money from my students." Yes, and your students get all their money from their wealthy middle class and upper middle class parents. So how are you different from Hillary Clinton? Please tell me that, Bernie. They don't understand what a capitalist socialist does. Back in the 20s, there was a governor of one of the southern states. I forget which one, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama. And he was a capitalist socialist. And he told the citizens of his state that he was going to share the wealth, so that people who had too much money, they'd have that taken away from them and given to other people who needed the money, and make sure everybody was equal in the amount of money that they had. Needless to say, 3 months into office, he was assassinated. However, that's a capitalist socialist, and that's what Bernie Sanders is advocating. Now, I have no problem with it. I don't have any money in the first place, so I'll be more than happy to take some money off of somebody else. But I don't think he would take whatever money he and his wife have and share it with Joe Blow that's living down the street in a cardboard box. Free college education, I think that's wonderful, but you need an economy to substantiate it. And the economy in Switzerland or whatever is a lot different than the type of economy that we have in the United States. Notice he doesn't use words like economy. I was talking to one person, I said, please, there's a difference between political capitalist socialism and communist socialism. I said, capitalist and communism are an economic state. It has nothing to do with politics. Communism is an economic state. It's not a political thing. Socialism is political. Capitalist is based on a free market system. Communism is with a controlled system by the government, but they're both economic systems. Let's get one thing clear, children. But nobody's bringing this out. Well, it's not politics. We're talking about somebody's economy, for God's sakes. If you want to talk politics, Bernie, I'm all ears. If you want to talk about the economy, Bernie, I'm all ears. But don't mix the two together. I have a play. I need to, my one of my grandgirls are in the Sound of Music. And I've got to go and eat my lunch, and we have to disappear to pick them up. But call anytime. You know, my mouth runs all the time. I think it's called mouth diarrhea. Yeah, something like that. Diarrhea of the mouth, that's what it is. Okay, thank you very much. Talk with you soon. You're welcome. Bye-bye.